Thanks everyone for joining. We're gonna wait a few seconds before we get started. This is Christina Piard speaking to you. I'm gonna try to turn my camera on just for a second so I can greet you guys properly, but I'm having some internet connectivity issues, so it'll be brief, but good morning, everyone. All right. Thank you for attending our professional development workshop entitled Digitizing Work-Based Learning Documents. My name is Christina PR, and I'm the Director of Corporate Engagement. Please allow me to introduce my colleague, Patrick Kelly.
Thank you, Christina. As many of you know, my name is Patrick Kelly, and I work for the college about 10 years, and I'm the Assistant Director of Workforce Development and also still work with our recruiting team.
Great. Patrick and I were tasked by Dr. Chapman to work on a comprehensive work-based learning plan for the college. This presentation will focus on one aspect of work-based learning here at CCCC, the documentation requirements that any student who participates in most work-based learning courses need.
Before we begin, I would first like to take a moment to thank Thea Boyer for initiating the conversation earlier in the summer on the documents that are required by the state and ultimately brought us to this point. Next, I'd like to turn over to Dr. Christy Short, who will provide an overview of the state of work-based learning here on campus.
Hey everybody, I seem to be having some internet connectivity issues as well, so thank you very much for your patience. Welcome to the session and welcome to the fall semester. It's great to see you all online, and I look forward to meeting those of you that I haven't met in person and to seeing you all again who I have had an opportunity to meet. So as Christina mentioned, this really is just one piece of the broader work-based learning conversation. And so we'll be having that longer conversation this semester about why we do work-based learning, how it serves the needs of the students to get experiential hands-on understanding of a future career and how it can help them to network, build relationships with employers so that we are able to facilitate them moving through a program that leads to a good job with a family sustaining wage and help to meet the employment needs in our community. So we know that work-based learning is important. We want to continue to refine and improve how we do work-based learning to make it a meaningful experience for the student and for the employer, and to help streamline that process for you as an instructor and give you additional opportunities to be engaged and help shape what that experience is going to be for the student and the employer. So this is one piece of that puzzle. We previously had many paper forms. Thea Boyer, as Patrick mentioned, had done some research over the summer, and thank you so much, Thea, for your work on this, that showed that we were requiring materials that the state did not require, and that we were omitting some materials that the state did require. And so she helped us to identify what was necessary to document work-based learning and created initial drafts of those documents. And then Christina and Patrick took those drafts and turned those into digital forms and a process that could be done in a more efficient way than what we were doing before. So you're not shuffling papers around, you're not losing things in transit. This is a workflow routing, kind of like our eTrieve process, where a document goes from the initiator to the person who reviews and signs, and it's hopefully much easier way to communicate. And as we are focused on continually improving, if as you use this new process you have feedback about it and other ideas about how it can be improved, then please share those, because that's our goal. We want this to work out better for everyone. And so I want to thank Christina and Patrick, in addition to Thea, for all their work on this process and their brainstorming and creativity in order to make this happen. So I look forward to continuing this conversation about work-based learning over this semester and this year as we refine our approach. And I'll turn it back over to Patrick and Christina.
Thank you, Dr. Short. A few months back, Patrick and I sent out a survey to program and department chairs to ask about the state of work-based learning on campus. Many thanks to those of you who responded. We kept reading feedback about streamlining the process and digitizing the paperwork. Here are a few examples of that feedback taken directly from the survey results. These survey results, coupled with Thea Boyer's work-based learning committee work, help push us to explore digitizing the forms needed for auditing purposes.
I'll take a few moments and read a couple of the comments. Streamline the paperwork aspect so we're not requiring more than the state requires. And if pen and paper could be replaced with electronic technology, that would be very helpful. We examined quite a number of options and ultimately settled on the College Central Network because this is a tool that Mary Parker is already using in the Career Center, and it would not cost the college any additional fees. Next, let us tell you a little bit about the College Central Network.
The Career Center, as Patrick mentioned, has already purchased the rights to use College Central Network as an online job board tool. Students can also use this platform to schedule appointments with the Career Center for job-related advice and counseling. What you see here is the landing page for the platform. I know it's a little blurry, so apologies for that. But as part of our new initiatives in workforce development, we've begun encouraging employers to post job internships on this platform. When Patrick and I looked at the survey results and realized there was a great need for digital forms for work-based learning, we found that the Experiential learning module within College Central Network could host these documents. Students, faculty, and employers can easily access this online tool. Anyone can access this page from the Career Center website or our new work-based learning website.
Speaking of new work-based learning website, we're finalizing the new website. Here's a current landing page that we have that features information for students, faculty, and employers, and our contact information. In the students section, we've included a link to the College Central Network at the top of the page. This website will contain eligibility requirements for students, video tutorials for assessing their experiential learning module on College Central Network, and contact information for anyone who needs assistance, including the new work-based learning employer sites. We imagine that you can provide a link to the work-based learning website in your course syllabus and on your Blackboard site as well, and any other forms of communications you have with students.
Let's dig a little into the Experiential learning module on College Central Network that will hold all of the digital documents. As an overview, we know that the Experiential learning module allows us to distribute, route, and store documents associated with work-based learning. To build a customized approval workflow for each document and anyone that needs to review those. And prompts them to provide information and/or electronic signatures for the documents quickly and efficiently. Patrick and I can also monitor the status of the agreements to ensure that the documents are moving smoothly along the workflow steps. The key component of this system is that students will always initiate the submission of the documents, but we have the ability to decide who should get the documents next for approval. It's also important to note that students, faculty, and employers can all complete the documents on their computer, tablet, or their smartphone.
Within the Experiential learning module, we can find the documents needed to comply with Section 20 guidance around the student's file. As we know, Section 20 serves as a policy guide for colleges offering work-based learning curriculum courses. College must retain a file on record for students containing the following items: a student time/wage report worksheet, a completed work-based learning application, a measurable learning objective, better known as MLOs, worksheet signed by the student, the employer, and college coordinator, or a job description, documentation of the employer evaluation, documentation of the employer constellation, and a current student transcript or final grade report. As you can see, we've created web forms for 5 of the 6 documents needed for the student file. The last document, the transcript or final grade report, can be obtained from DataTel.
The key to College Central Network is the easy access to the documents. In order to move the documents from one person to another, College Central Network uses a workflow system. This slide represents a typical workflow for a document. As you can see, the first step in this workflow is the student submitting the documents for review and approval. As Patrick mentioned before, the student will always initiate the submission of documents. That document will go from the student to the faculty member to the employer if necessary. And the final step in the workflow will be that the document is finalized and a PDF of the document will be emailed out to the student, faculty member, and employer if needed.
As Christina said, the student will always initiate the submission of documents. The screenshot on the left is the student page on the website. The link for the College Central Network is right there at the top. On the right, you can see a screenshot of what the forms will look like for the student. Here's a screenshot of application for work-based learning. You can see that it's simple and easy for a student to fill out, and once again, this can be done on a computer, tablet, or smartphone. One thing to note, that the student must use their Cougar email address or their Cougar email account, whichever you prefer. The student is responsible for entering the correct email address for their site supervisor. If an edit needs to be made, anyone in the workflow, including the faculty member or instructor, can edit the contact information. As you can see, after the student submits the document, the program will move to the next stage of the workflow. The next step will be that the student application to be approved or edited by the faculty advisor or instructor.
The first time a faculty or staff member is asked to approve a document, an automatic email will include a hyperlink and instructions to create a password for your account. After you've entered a password and confirmed the password, you'll be directed to the administrative dashboard. You will find the link for the student's experiential learning document in the yellow attention items of your administrative dashboard. Selecting the student name will allow you to review the experiential learning information and document approval. There, the faculty member can approve the documents and the form will go to the next step in the workflow, or the faculty member can decide that the student needs some edits and not approve the document. Let's say the student just missed a word or put in the wrong date. The faculty member would select not approved, write a note in the comment section, and the system will allow the student to reopen the document and make the necessary changes. The workflow will be restarted and the faculty member will have another chance to approve or not approve the document.
Now that the faculty member or instructor has reviewed and approved the application, College Central Network will automatically go to the next steps in the workflow. So for our purposes today, that form will go to the workplace site supervisor. For any documents that the employers must approve, he or she will receive an email like the one you see here on your screen. Unlike the student or faculty member, employers will only have to click on a link to complete their section. They will not have to log in or create a profile on College Central Network, even though we can encourage them to do so for networking.
Now that the employer has signed off on our agreement, we can continue the completion of the workflow.
Another feature of the College Central Network is once a workflow is complete, everyone sees a finalized copy in PDF form, which can then be uploaded by the student into Blackboard for your viewing or grading or record keeping. On the left is an example of what the PDF will look like, and on the right is an example of what the email will look like that you would receive saying it is finalized.
As you can see, we've finalized the documents and completed all the steps in the workflow. Part of our job, Patrick and I, once each document has been finalized, will be to put copies of each of these documents on a dedicated work-based learning shared drive. Select administrative assistants will also have access to this drive. College Central Network will save the documents in the cloud, but as a backup, we will have the copies of the documents as well. This shared drive is what other schools use in times of audits by the state to quickly and easily find the required documentation, print it out, and have it available for auditors without having to have each student's file physically on hand. Now that we've shown you how College Central Network will work to digitize our documents, we wanted to let you know that we tested this system with students, faculty, and employers. Thank you again to the faculty who responded to us and helped us create these forms. And a special shout out to Alex Dowdy, who kept answering our questions and on process and looks like on the ground for her. We use this feedback to improve on the documentation and make it easier to use. For example, some of Dave Meyer's AC, heating, and refrigeration students let us know that the timesheet could not accurately reflect the actual hours that they worked. We were able to quickly change the drop-down menu into a fillable field so that if a student worked 16 hours, that could be accurately reflected on the form. We also heard from many faculty that it was simply too many clicks from the homepage to College Central Network, so we worked with marketing to create a dedicated work-based learning website with instructions and a link to College Central Network. Again, we're hoping you can include this on your course Blackboard or syllabus. And employers really like that they did not have to schedule a time to meet with a student to complete the forms, but instead can submit their signatures on the go directly from their email, again, on their phone, on their tablet, or on their computer. And as you can see, there's a few examples of some of the feedback we received from students and faculty here on the screen if you'd like to read them.
At this time, we're talking about several things that College Central Network cannot do. While it's great at some things, there's some things that it does not do and that we have to complete ourselves. First, College Central Network is not able to add the time together for the student on the timesheet or check it for accuracy as well. So it will not actually add all the numbers together at the bottom, or will it not? It also will not go back and check to make sure they equal the correct amount at the bottom as well. Faculty will need to verify the student submissions to make sure the site supervisor's correct email address has been submitted as well. So we have to check their time and we have to make sure they have the correct email for their site supervisor. Second, there's no interface with Blackboard or Web Advisor. Faculty have to create an assignment within work-based learning course, and the students will need to upload the finalized documents that the College Central Network emails to them at the end of the workflow. Once again, this is why the proper email address for our students is required, because College Central Network is linked to our college email address system. This is also true for the site supervisor email address. You need to make sure it's correct at all times. If it's not, the workflow cannot be completed.
In order to route all of our students' forms appropriately, we need to know your program's individual workflows for each form. We need to know that if you want your program's form to go from the student to the faculty, to the program chair, to the dean, or whatever the workflow might look for your program. We also need to know from each program the faculty coordinator or whoever our point of contact would be as we progress through the semester. So again, these are the two things that we need from you, from each program that has work-based learning students.
We thank you for attending today, and below you'll find our contact information. We're more than happy to meet with you one-on-one if you have any questions. We also can provide an orientation to your work-based learning students as well, if you wish. At this point, we'd open the floor for any kind of questions and take them at this time. Thank you, Carl. I see we have a question from Carl, and I actually will defer to Dr. Short in his question about when does this start.
Patrick, I'm not sure if Dr. Short is still on with us, but I believe that her intention is for this to start this fall.
Thank you. Any other questions from the group?
we have access to a course where we can see how it looks in Blackboard? Um, I love this model. I love everything y'all are doing. You put a lot of hard work into it. Is there a way we can see how this would work in an actual Blackboard class? Because my mind is thinking, how do I make this work in Blackboard? Because at the end of the day, it has to be a Blackboard. So I'm trying to think, how do I get this in Blackboard to make it work? And I think that's probably my bigger confusion right now. Is do we have an example of how it would work with Blackboard or a class we could enter as a peer review so we can see how they did it?
We don't at this time. When you ask how it would work within, say, Blackboard, we envision that you would have to create an assignment within the WBL 111 course that where they would just turn in the PDF that they got at the very end of College Central Network. Um, I'll get to your question in just a second. So when you say within Blackboard, the only thing we foresee with the documents within Blackboard would be just the upload there if you wish to do so, so that way you can grade them and check them that way.
Patrick, I imagine which is what people would do in the past, right? Like they would just have a physical copy that they would have someone else sign physically. So instead of doing that physical signature, they're going to do this completely online. And then, as we said, when that agreement is finalized, a student, the faculty member would all get that PDF at the end with that emailed PDF of that particular document. And then we imagine that the student could upload that to Blackboard in the same way that they would turn in a document, a physical document. And then the next question is, where do we go on our website to find this information? I think that Patrick, if you could include the work-based learning website address, we'll have all of the people who attended today. We will email out that work-based learning specific website because it's not quite finalized yet. And so as soon as it's finalized, which I believe should be in the next day or two, we'll be able to email out that link.
Yes,
the
ma'am.
next question I see. Oh, I'm sorry, Patrick.
Yes, ma'am. I was going to say I was going to do that. I was also can go ahead and provide a web address here in the chat if that's okay with everybody.
Sure. The next question I saw is, if someone prefers a physical copy rather than this workflow, would they still be able to submit a physical copy of the document? My understanding from Dr. Short is that this is going to be our new system, and we're going to use this online workflow just for consistency's sake across programs. And Thea asked, are documents being removed from the intranet as well? I believe that we haven't initiated any kind of deletion from the intranet, but again, this is going to be the system that we roll out this fall.
Any other questions from the group?
Again, I just want to give everyone the opportunity. You can feel free to email either myself or Patrick. We'll be happy to do a one-on-one discussion with you if you've got some questions or concerns that maybe you hadn't thought of at the moment. Again, if you need us to speak with any of your students or your classes to talk about this system, we'll be happy to do that as well. When we rolled this out with students in the student ambassadors and the HVAC students, they were able to really quickly just log in and complete the test form and send it back, and they didn't really have any questions. There's nothing that there was the real question and the real difficulty just logging into College Central Network that first time because they are bulk uploaded by Mary Parker every semester. Every time there's a new set of students coming in, they didn't quite need to register, but instead activate their account. So that was the biggest hurdle. But after that is very, very straightforward. And I see about canned presentation for us to include in our Blackboard site. Yes, Patrick and I are working on that as we speak, and I believe, Patrick, that should be done either today or tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. So maybe we'll send out that short video tutorial for students, and as well as the website link, and then again offer for anyone, if you have any questions or concerns, any problems, anything at all, we'll be happy to answer those questions. And it's also our intention to put those canned videos, those short video clips on the work-based learning website, so that a student who maybe doesn't have it in their syllabus or in their Blackboard site could just click through maybe a 3-minute video on the work-based learning website to give them on how to submit all these documents. Any other questions? I see a question about who should we provide our program workflows to. You can email either myself or Patrick, and then we'll be able to enter into College Central Network for your students. All right. Well, are there any other questions? Any last call for questions?
Christina, real quick, could you go back to the part where Michelle asked about we needed to provide you something? I think I missed that.
Sure. So in order for us to send the documents through, to route them to everyone that you need, we would need from you sort of the workflow. So, for example, if you said it needs to come for biowork students or for whichever students, we need to come first to Lisa Smelser, and then we need to go to Alex Dowdy, and then we need to go to someone else. We just need to know from you where the forms need to go. Where should we route them? So faculty member to program chair, or faculty member to this, to another faculty member or some administrative assistant, whatever your workflow would be for your program, that's what we would need you to email us.
Okay, and that's just done once overall. That's not something that has to be sent per student or per semester. Is that correct?
That's correct. It would have to be sent to us once. So if you know that your MLOs need to come to, first you and then someone else, you would just say, for the MLOs, please send, this is the workflow. Student to me, Lisa Smelser, to my administrative assistant, and that's the end of it. But it would not need to happen per student. It would just need to happen one time. And then what we would do is create a customized workflow for your students. And then anytime one of your students submits a document, we can easily assign that workflow to that student's documents.
Okay, that makes sense. Should I get with like Alex on what that workflow would be? I guess I'm not certain how I know what that is.
Yeah, so Alex has actually sent us what she imagines the workflow looked like, and so if it's more helpful to you, we could email you, Lisa, that her proposed workflow, and then you could sort of sign off on it, if that makes sense.
Oh, that sounds perfect. Thank you.
Sure. And Alex did that for all of the programs under her purview. So if anyone else would like that, please let us know, and we can share that with you as well. I see Michelle Patterson has also asked that be done. So yes, we can do that. And then I saw a question about, do we need to create an account, and so where's the link? So you don't need to create an account until a student actually submits a document, and then you'll get that email that we showed in the slideshow that says you have a document to approve. But if you want to do it in advance, you could certainly go on College Info Network page, our site-specific page, and create an account. There's no one that says faculty member, so you would just create an account that says community member. And then once a student initiates the workflow, then you'll be able to see that student documents. Thea asked, are we still creating files for each student for the dean signature? So according to Dean Drew Goodson, he said that he will not need to be included in the workflow for his programs. But that is the only dean that I've heard from in terms of their workflow. And so I guess that would be a question for your particular department and for your dean if they want to be included in that workflow. Thea.
I'm sorry, my question wasn't clear. I'm sorry. We still create file folders for each student to have the dean sign at the end of the semester, correct?
So we're actually going to do that in the work-based learning. We're actually going to be creating the file in the work-based learning shared drive. But certainly, if you want to have a backup file, you're more than welcome to do that. But we will have a file with these documents in them per student in that shared drive.
Okay.
So I guess it would really depend on what your program and what your dean would like. But just know that those documents will be on the cloud for the College Central Network, and then we'll also have a shared drive with the 5 of the 6. And so depending on what your program would like to do, if you want to send us 6 documents so we can maintain everything, or if you would like us to send you the documents, we can discuss that.
Whatever works for the college, for the auditor, just whatever works. I mean, creating files takes a lot of time, but if there's a way to streamline that, like you said, if you guys are doing that and you're creating the files for Amanda to audit, that's great. I don't want to redo a process because it's very time consuming. So I was just trying to see if we're creating the files for auditing or if y'all are creating the files for auditing. I just want to make sure that I'm making sure that my program is being adherent. So I wasn't sure if I was still creating files or if they were being created for auditing. I don't know if that makes any sense, because with workflow, I would not need the dean to sign it to the end. So how would we do that with requesting workflow? So like the dean doesn't sign it to the end of the semester, so I don't really need her workflow until the end. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that in my mind, it makes a lot of sense that since we'll have that shared drive and we'll have access to that, and the dean's administrative assistants will have access to that shared drive as well, it makes sense that we could have those 5 files that come through College Central Network, and then if you provide us that the last document from DataTel, we could add that to the file. But I don't want to necessarily, say that that's what we're forcing you to do if that's not what your dean would like. In the case of Dean Drew Goodson, we've worked it out with him that would make sense. But again, I don't want to force that on anyone else.
Okay, so like the eval for the final grade reporting and all that, you guys would pull that for each student then?
No, we would need you to send that to us.
I got you. Oh, I see. And then you guys would add it to a file. Oh, I get it. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Thea. Any other questions? I see one more question about creating an account. Again, until a student initiates a document, what you want to do is create an account for yourself as a community member, and then you would still be able to access the document once a student actually initiates an application on MLO, for example. And so there's no specific tab that says faculty, so just go in as a community member. Any other questions? Any other concerns? Well, we hate to keep you here for longer than we have to. And again, thank you so much, and thank you very much for your questions. We really appreciate it. Again, the things we need from you is that workflow document. I know that a few of you I've promised to email you Alex Dowdy's her proposed workflow, and so I'll be happy to do that for those of you that requested it. And for everyone else, if you could email us your program specific workflows per document, that would be great. We really would appreciate it.
Christina,
Yes, ma'am.
if there's anything you want to share with, this group and the rest of the college with this recording, if you'll send that to me. And then if you need a list of the attendees that requested that workflow, I can provide that too.
Thank you so much, Erin. I really appreciate your help with that.